This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 134. You are the single greatest danger to your business. Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan or any plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, I've created a free strategic plan that's waiting for you, sitting there, waiting, calling your name at freeagentgift.com. That's freeagentgift.com. All right, now, in this episode, I want to cover this question that really runs through my mind. Am I really the biggest danger in my business? The answer is yes, I am, and so are you. We are the single greatest danger to the growth, I'll add, of our business. So let me hit the first point here. How do I know this? Well, the irony is, if I go back in my lifetime, this is a lesson I learned in a sort of fashion in the fourth grade. Yes, the fourth grade. We had woodworking shop back in the fourth grade, and Mr. Mulligan, a great guy, he taught shop. And the first day I remember going in there, and boy, I was pretty enamored with the thing. I am certainly no master woodworker, nor will I ever be, nor was I. But I was intrigued with the place. I thought it was cool. I really liked it a lot. And I'm always impressed with people that, builders, framers. I love this stuff. I love to watch it happen. I think it's art. And it was really cool. And there were these huge saws and piles of wood, and it was exciting. It was different, right? It was physical. And when you're a young boy, you just want to get at that kind of stuff. So the very first class, he goes up to the chalkboard and he looks at us all and he says, "What is the most dangerous thing in the room?" Well, it was the buzzsaw. It was the power drill. And he goes up on the board and he writes those three letters, Y-O-U. Nope. You are the most dangerous thing in the shop. Because see, all these things that can operate and they can perform these amazing tasks, they can't happen without you. And if you start screwing around with these tools and these systems, you are the biggest danger in the shop. Well, there you go. So if there are all these tools and systems of making things in a business, and you begin to learn them, and they don't work, it's probably you. It's probably you. Now, of course, you can have a broken tool or the system's off a little bit. But relatively speaking, it's easy to fix them or figure out why they're not working. But in that case, if that's easy and it's logical, why do not more of us have an amazing, thriving business that's scaled and big? I know what you say. I don't want a big business. I just want to sell a couple homes. All right, cool. Why don't you sell them more easily? Because it's you. It's me. It's us. So, all right, Mr. Mulligan, thank you for the slap upside the head. We get it. Now what do we do? You know what, I only like to leave you hanging on this podcast, so we get into a little bit of what to do and maybe how to do it. The next point here is recognizing first that, okay, why am I the biggest threat? Well, it's because nobody is pre-wired to be a master of all the roles that are required to be played inside a business, let alone a real estate agent business, which is complicated. And I'm talking about the real estate agent, the individual. The real estate agency is just a scale of that. And when you scale a bunch of people, of course, you need other layers of management that handle that sort of thing. But at the core of our business is the real estate agent selling property, helping buyers, helping sellers. That's it. So when you consider how many details that are involved in selling a singular property, it's stunning. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot to do. I mean, I show people in my mastermind these sophisticated, but simple, but they're big mind maps of all of the details and the steps. At the TRC, at the highest level of private coaching, we are trying to develop management systems and management brains around those. And if you saw these mind maps for marketing, telemarketing, scripting, client care management, closing processes, past client management, agent hiring, all of these things are precise. What to do, how to do them, and who should do them. Going to be a key point here, right? So how in the world could any of us come out of the womb perfectly ready to play all those roles? Now, of course, the agent hiring process and all that sort of thing, that might not be relevant to you. But taking a buyer or seller through its process in its entirety is particular to you. But yet, when you really think about that, are you the best marketer? Are you pre-wired to have a creative brain? Can you copyright and make right messages? Are you the one to write a script for telemarketing? Are you even good at outbound calling? Are you petrified to call people you don't know? When you get into the conversion process and you have to go give a presentation face-to-face, are you good at face-to-face sales? Once it's there, are you good at long-time client care? Can you cross the T's and dot the I's in a closing process? Are you good at long-term follow-up with past clients? See what I mean? Like, it's how? How could you? And now, as the world's gotten more sophisticated, you go back to marketing. What used to be more simple, write an ad in the paper maybe, do an open house maybe. Now we have the social media world. We're trying to vet that in and of itself. Is social media marketing even worth it? If it is, how does it work to benefit me? What do I do? Is it leads? Is it content production? And on and on and on I go. Roles. We can't do them all. You can muscle your way there, sure, but you can't do it all. So what do you do with this heap of confusion? What do you do with all these roles, all this information? What happens when you wake up and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have been doing all this. I've been unconsciously doing it. So first of all, pat yourself on the back. If you've ever done one deal in real estate and you've survived it, good for you. You've gone A through Z. Maybe you had some help from the broker, closing coordinator, whatever, but you took it through. Bravo. You should be proud of yourself. No easy task. Managing the emotions of the buyers, the sellers, the other agents, the home inspectors, the attorneys, the title companies. Sounds like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, right? It's crazy. So how do you make sense of all that? Well, here's what I say, and this I'm going to pull it out of the deepest level work that I do with agents, and that's at the mastermind private coaching level that we have. We say no matter what you are, naturally, no matter what role you are, okay? So you might be a great starter, you might be a great scaler, but whatever you are, you want to train your brain to become a manager. That's what I've done. Now, I'm not saying that management is something I wake up and say, I can't wait to manage the heck out of my business every day. I do now because I know the effect, the results that I get from a commitment to that part of my now developed and wired brain. But I will tell you, I was not born to be that person. And I am still not the right person to manage at a lower operating level. When I say lower, I don't mean lower. I'm better off managing globally. I will get down and I will manage these systems. I will build these mind maps. But once they're built out, I do know I need to get out of the way. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, right? So what I could promise you is that if you will train your brain to manage all that chaos, what does that look like for you? Well, again, go to freeagentgift.com. If you print out the one-page infographic, you'll see a marketing plan or module. Can't remember which one version is up there. It says plan or module. Strategic marketing plan or strategic marketing module. That leads to strategic conversion plan or module. Then that goes into closing. That goes into past client. And then there's other modules down below. Measurement. Once that's all really refined, you can measure everything that's happening in real time. And then if you want to expand it, you expand it with people. So those are all this, and that's all there is, really, 4 major chunks to think about. But at least if you even saw that, you'd be beginning to train your brain to be conscious that a managed business is the solution. Think about it. The MBA program, Masters in Business Administration. What do you mean by administration? Administering all the details, organizing them, managing them. So the idea of learning some basic skills of management, which can start right here, and again, printing out that infographic, pinning it up, at least now you've considered it's a thing. Now, the level of help you'll need to get is certainly different from each one of you to each one of you, but at least it's conscious. We're cognizant. Management is the problem or lack thereof. And to be a good manager, I highly recommend, greatest thing I ever discovered was mind mapping. I like xmind.net. They have a free software called Xmind 8. That's the one I recommend. They've got a free software called Xmind 8, and just playing around with it by saying, all right, when I started my process, and it's sort of like, if you're just hearing this for the first time, this kind of technique, just say a deal. Like you fill in the main little bubble that comes up, a real estate deal. And then you start to go, you can click on it and you can design it so that the bubbles, you start to spit out things on the right-hand side and they list them down. I like that one. It's called, you click on structure and you click on structure, and I want the org chart that has the bubble and things line up to the right of it in descending order. And I say, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did. What you're doing is what to do, 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 what to do first, what to do second, what to do third, what to do fourth. You see what I mean? Then you can do another branch out. How'd I do it? How'd I do it? How'd I do it? How'd I do it? And then at the end, in the beginning, it'll be, I did it, I did it, I did it. See what I mean? So a real estate deal, what to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, A through Z, whatever you want to do. And then how'd I do it? I did this, and then I did it. So you have the beginnings of an incredible managed process that easily, okay? So that's what I mean. Begin by training your brain to do something like that. And lastly here is work first on the development of effective results-based systems and then get out of the way. So let me speak to the who. Because I started this by saying you're the most dangerous. And really it's simply because you just weren't born to be all things. That's the first conscious moment we have. But the incredible thing is, even though you weren't born to be all these roles, you did them if you did one transaction. And if you do a lot, man, it's incredible when you all of a sudden get conscious and say, wow, this guy's right. Well, I do have an administrator, but I still did 35, 45 deals. That's incredible when you really think about it. The ability of the brain to organize things, and maybe you have some written down things and still get through that many transactions. No wonder why all you top producers that come to me with rashes and chest pains and anxiety, and you're almost really like depressed that this didn't serve you. Relax. You did an incredible job. You just have to clean up the mess on aisle 5 by going through mind mapping, organization, and systems, right? Manage it. So as you begin to clean up what you do, you're taking inventory. So I'll speak to your top producers for a second. All you're doing is looking at the systems that you do have in place and memorialize the ones that aren't. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people, let's go to closing for a second. A lot of people have a closing process checklist. It's, and they even make folders with all the steps on the back of it. So that's about the closest example I ever saw back in the low-tech days for a written out memorialized system on the back of a folder. Check, 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 check. That's a system. Right? And that's an effective results-based system that you give somebody a really good organized closing process by being on top of the details. You're birthing a happy past client into your community where they're likely to repeat and refer. That's a really good example of an effective results-based system. Okay? But the key point, let's stay with that closing module because that's the easiest one for me to talk about here, is that now you look at it, but you recognize, well, wait a minute. I got into the real estate agent business because I love the front-facing piece of marketing and people and sales. I love that. I was born. That's like people really relate to me. And I get buyers and sellers to talk to me all the time, but I just can't seem to do a lot of them. So you're a great rainmaker. You're a starter. You're a creator of all these relationships. But after that, who becomes an issue? Well, I know that when I get a client and I'm listing, I've got to go through this checklist, but oh my gosh, it's so painful. It takes me so long, and coordinating the photographer. Stop. That's a who moment. That's where a lot of you say, well, I've got to hire an admin to do all this. To do what? Everything that you don't like to do? That's what most of you top producers make a mistake on. We just said that there's an enormous amount of roles in one transaction. You get exhausted doing them, and you can't wait to hire a catch-all, a dump-on assistant, an admin. I can't stand that. Well, I'm going to hire an admin. You're going to do what? Hiring an admin to do what administrative work? In what managed process? In what managed way? Oh, you're going to get somebody and dump everything on them? And then freak out when they're not getting to it and expect them to be trained and wonder why they burned out? Come on. Ridiculous. So the idea is being specific. Go back and talk. You'll see in the last episode where I said details matter here, folks. All you have to do is simply delineate out A through Z in the closing process. Here's what's happening. I'm terrible at crossing T's and dotting I's. And quite frankly, I've done it, but it's painful. So what do? Go find somebody, a closing coordinator who does this for a living, who loves closing coordination. My closing coordinator, Randy, I asked her the other day when we were going through this management process in the mastermind coaching where we were, detailing everything. I said, Randy, do you like doing this? She said, I love doing this. See, there are people out there that were born for that role, and that's all they want to do. They love it. Every time something comes in, they see that as their challenge. And you're scratching your head going, oh my gosh, that's like, somebody scratching on a chalkboard to me. Yes. So get out of the way and delegate it to someone. Whoa, but I can save myself $349.95. What? You can do what? Do you know what that $34.99 or whatever it's going to cost you for a closing coordinator to handle your deal means in freeing you up to go make it rain because you just said you were a rainmaker? And if you could have that time out there spending on marketing and starting more conversations, or more importantly, following up the clients you have, do you know what that's worth to you? What is one more commission worth to you? And you're nickel and diming on the who? Stop doing that. That's not business-mindedness. That's short-sightedness. That's small-mindedness. You are in trouble. You are the problem. There's an example of it, right? Let's go into client care management. A lot of you, let me go to telemarketing. That's even easier. A lot of you that have been trained in an inappropriate way, when somebody says, well, you must do the telemarketing to understand it before you can give it away. So you better do it for a couple of years. What do you think? Like Bill Gates could code, but do you think he built Microsoft on the ability that he had to code? I mean, Jobs was an incredible visionary. He took a calligraphy class. He knew what beauty looked like, but he had that nerd Wozniak behind him. I say that in a loving way, right? A tech geek. And they partnered together. He got out of his way. See, these people got out of their own way. They stopped being the problem, and that's how they expanded. They had other people around them that played these other roles better than they did. They didn't white-knuckle everything and try to control it. It's absurd. The concept's absurd. Now, just as a quick note, if I look at my team today, what I have done is I have continuously built these systems and these mind maps, looked at who do I have doing it now, if it's me or if it's the wrong person. See, it's not only me getting out of the way. For example, Laura's been part of my business for 15 years, and she sits as close to me in the assembly line as anybody on my own book of business, meaning when I get a listing or I get a buyer, immediately it goes to her for client care management. So all the details, which she's very good at, she's working on those behind the scenes, and then I do the in the field stuff, get the deal under, or at least agreed to, and then she goes right back to the details. But then I started to look at her and took my own advice. Is she my next catch-all? The answer was yes. Why? Well, when the listing came on and she was inputting, I'm like, why are you inputting it? As part of our detailed package with Randy, she inputs our listings. Get out of the way, Laura. Let her do it. And Laura, you're not even getting to the just listed and just sold postings. Let's go hire somebody off of Upwork who knows this. Enter Bibi from Bangladesh. Yes, Bangladesh. Okay, comes in and she's brilliant at making all these postings happen. And this is, as I'm recording this, she's 2 weeks into the job, 3 weeks. I'm saying brilliant because she's doing things better than we did when we were muscling our way. And she's way better than us because it's actually happening consistently now. So I could go on and on. Serena doing our CMAs, putting together all of our market updates. Things are happening with precision. Now, you might say, well, I could never afford all those people. You are wrong. You could afford what one deal a year affords, 2 deals, 3 deals, 4 deals. It's a reinvestment in your business. Pharmaceutical businesses put 19% back into the redevelopment of new pharmaceuticals. And yet you won't put anything back. You won't even leverage one transaction, so you bought more time to get a second one. That's 2x the revenue if you did one deal last year. See what I'm saying? So if you looked at my team, there are a lot of micro workers now. Smartest thing I ever did. And in fact, those are independent contractors who are happy to have another client that they do that work for. Like, for example, Bibby has another client. So I'm only 50% of the time. And I have 3 brands, Realty Classroom, the bonus section, and Griffin Realty Group. She has another client. And we're thrilled to be in that relationship. So see, we've advanced in business into this microeconomic independent worker world where clearinghouses like Upwork.com, 99designs.com, writersaccess.com. I use all of these places where the micro role player is a super hyper specialist. So I get the best written descriptions from a pro, not from me. I get the best CMA from somebody who grew up in rocket science, right? Literally. So this is my point. Once you know what to do, and then you're starting to learn what works best or how to do it, then figure out who's the best to do it. Because once you hire that independent contractor who's conscientious and loves that work, there's a consistency to it. And your business is leveraged and growing and super cost effective. Remember, the idea of hiring somebody into a role that you're not good at is that the business leverages up. It's not you're always looking at this as a cost that's dragging it down. You should be looking at it as an investment that leverages it up, because it should, if it's effective, buy the business more time, and if that's you, to make it rain more, bring in more business that can go into this process that's all role developed. All right, let me go back and summarize this. Love this subject. This has changed my life, right? To recognize that you, me, we are the single greatest danger in our businesses. And my number one point was, I learned this lesson from Mr. Mulligan, my woodshop teacher, who went to the front of the room with all this buzzsaw and power drill in front of us and said, what's the most dangerous thing in the room? And wrote YOU on the chalkboard. 2, nobody is pre-wired to be the master of all roles. So you have to recognize that's why you are a danger in business, because you're trying to play all these roles and you're just not pre-wired. However, I would say that no matter what role you are naturally, learn to train your brain to think at least like a manager. You can hire managers and micromanagers of these systems, but you have to understand that's a problem in small business. You have to be willing to put your boots on in your overalls and go to work to have a management brain development. Lastly, work first on the development of effective systems that are results-based, and then get out of the way by delegating that work to specialists who are independent contractor, really good micro workers, okay? Meaning micro, they're working on a small piece of your business. Let me say it this way. In life, nobody is born pre-wired to be perfectly balanced business people. And in real estate, those that migrate to the top producer status tend to do so on sheer willpower and muscle. Sounds painful now. The best way to build an actual business is to recognize yourself as the biggest danger and fight to understand how managed systems are the key to success. Once you get basic systems in place, you must delegate their operation and subsequent improvement to those who are better wired to do so than you. Simply put, get out of the way. All right, remember, you can take immediate action to get started in the right direction or a better direction with a copy of our free strategic plan. It's waiting for you at freeagentgift.com. Freeagentgift.com. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. We also broadcast, give away our live sales training calls on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. So remember, just turn on your page and channel notifications on any of those platforms for the Realty Classroom, and you won't miss the reminders as we go live. We'd also appreciate if you would comment on our post. Let me know how you're thinking. I'd love to start to make this interactive, but if not, I'll keep the monologue going because I care about you. Even if I can't hear from you, see you, or know what you're thinking, I'll keep doing this to be of service, genuinely not expecting anything in return. But interaction could make it more interesting for you because I could go deeper. But remember this, and I always sign off like this. Thank you for listening. I'm humbled by it. But remember this, nobody is coming for you. So go get to work on your own business, and I will see you in the next episode.